Welcome back here to Starflag Media. Today is May 24th, 2023. Today's big announcements came in the way of PlayStation's showcase for 2023. And they went over a lot of games today, around 35, 36 games, something along those lines. Basically, there was a lot of content to go over. So it's going to be a little bit impossible for me to go over in detail on every single one of the games that were touched upon today. I've got a lot of notes here from the PlayStation Showcase, and we're going to go over those as quickly as possible, and with each game in the showcase itself, and then I'll go over each one in order that they appeared, and then if I found something that I found interesting or something that I think that should be noted upon the game, then we'll talk about that. Again, a lot of these were just very quick CGI trailers, so there's not much to go off of other than whatever cutscenes their respective publisher decided that that's what they wanted to show off. Overall, if I want to describe this showcase, the word is underwhelming. I was expecting something with bigger announcements. It's been a while since we had a Sony PlayStation showcase, and honestly, there wasn't much here that we already didn't know about. In fact, there's videos that I posted here on the channel about a month ago, which leaked some of the things that would have been considered, in my opinion, big news. But as always, these leaks get out there, and it's my job to bring that news to you as soon as I hear it. Spoilers alerts and all that good stuff. But at the same time, you have to kind of, if there's a credible source behind it, you kind of have to talk about it, right? The first game that they showed off here at the showcase was actually a game called Fair Game. Again, it's just a CGI trailer. It's like a heist game. It looks to be a live service. It's coming to PlayStation 5 and PC, which will help it build its audience, I guess, having it on both platforms and needing to keep both of those, keeping that service alive. So keeping player base is pretty high. It's dependent on having more than one platform at launch for that game. The game didn't look all that great from what I saw. Again, it's hard to tell. It's a CGI trailer, so maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe this turns out to be like the next Overwatch or something. Who knows? The game that followed that was called Helldivers 2. It's a sequel, obviously. Very much Starship Troopers vibes. A lot of CGI that they showed off. Very cool trailer at the very beginning. The recruiting video just screams Starship Troopers at me, which is what the game is supposed to be. And fans of the first game are going to be very excited to see, that they have that great option there for Helldivers 2. It looked fun. Nothing that's gonna, blow people's minds away. After that, we saw EA bring out or showcase a magical first-person shooter of sorts, Immortals of Avium. I'm pretty sure I'm not saying that right, but it looked like, a fun first-person shooter type game with, instead of guns, it's using magical spells, and it looks like instead of switching between ammos and types of guns, you're switching between different powers. There was a lot of zip lining going on, a lot of attacks with different elements, elemental magic. It looked fun. I don't know if this is going to be a huge hit. I'm not a huge fan of many Electronic Arts games recently, so we're going to be, probably skipping that one. I'll be skipping that one here. It won't be on my PlayStation 5. I don't know about you guys. Let me know if you want that game. That followed up another sequel here with Ghost Runner 2. Samurai-based Phantom Blade Zero. Looked like a fun game. Very cool animations. Sword fighting. Very smooth gameplay. That looks interesting. Very Japanese. I dug it. It seemed interesting. That game that followed Phantom Blade Zero was Sword of the Sea, it was called. And it had very nice visuals. It's from the creators of Journey. which has very similar visuals as well. So if you like artistic or artsy looking games, that's what they showed off here. It looked okay. I'm not a huge fan of these type of games, but visually I can say it was very pretty to look at. It was a good looking trailer, and I don't know how the gameplay will hold up or anything of that nature, but it looks interesting to me, and maybe it's interesting to you guys. The follow-up game to that was The Tales of Principle 2. Another game with pastel art form, very cool looking art style, was called Neva. The next one was called Cat Quest Pirates of the Caribbean. It's nothing like Zack and Wiki for the Wii, but it has that art style to it, that art style of Zack and Wiki, that's what it reminded me of, even though what they showed off gameplay wise is completely different as Zack and Wiki. As everyone who's familiar with that game would know, it's a puzzle based game. This didn't look anything like that, but as far as visuals are concerned, that's what it reminded me of. It probably skews to a very niche crowd, maybe the younger audience. The one that really kind of surprised me was this Splatoon-like shooter game that they showed off called Foam Stars. It looks like it was like bubble foam, or everybody's shooting different colored foam at each other, and it encompasses the entire arenas, and it reminds me a lot of Splatoon. And this is kind of like, I guess, the non-Nintendo version of that. It looks like it could be a sleeper hit in the gaming community. I don't know. I just found it really intriguing as to how this game managed to make its way over on a PlayStation platform. I don't know if that's the right platform for it. I can see that game, again, because it just reminds me so much of Splatoon. I can see that, being a big hit on Nintendo's platforms. I don't know if perhaps the physics engines or what they were aiming for isn't possible to do on the Switch on that scale, but yeah, Foam Stars, that's what that game was. The follow-up to Foam Stars came in a very Super Paper Mario art style-y game called Plucky Squire. Again, this game was just like this 2D in planes, reminded me of Super Paper Mario, where you can kind of go into the 3D backgrounds, and even Mario Odyssey, there's sections where you can literally turn into 2D Mario and platform through those levels. It's very similar to that. Very cool looking. I love the way it looked. I don't know, again, these are very niche titles in my opinion, but the art style, I really do like to see what they're doing. It's not going for this hyper realism. These are the games that in 10 years and 15 years down the line, you're going to look back on and go, man, that game really holds up visually. And the reason is because they're not going for this hyper realistic graphics that will always age, versus, a nice art style that, games like Wind Waker seem to 20 years later still look really good. I believe this is that type of game, Plucky Squire. Next game is called Teardown, and the first thing I wrote down was Minecraft looking clone. And it's not Minecraft, but definitely has the Minecraft art style with the blocks, and it looks very Lego-ish, and it looks like you're building weapons and cars, and Teardown. Look that one up. That was an interesting little piece of gaming trailer there. And then the next game that they showed, CG Sequence 2, is the one that leaked, of course. And again, I commented about this one a while ago. It's Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. It looks like the rumors were true. It's coming to the PlayStation 5. And just as I predicted, I believe that they would get rid of the number 3, not to confuse the audience out there, and that's exactly what they did. Metal Gear Delta is what it's being called now. So Metal Gear Delta Snake Eater. They didn't show much in the way of gameplay. We all know what the game looks like if you've ever actually played the originals, but obviously this is going to be PlayStation 5 graphics and the whole nine, right? So we have that, and then they kind of snuck in there at the very end saying that Metal Gear Solid Collection was going to be coming out as well. So I wonder if that's going to be exclusive as well, or if we're going to get the Metal Gear Solid Collection across all platforms. Yeah, it looks interesting to me. You know, if you're a big Metal Gear fan, this is going to please you immensely. I know a friend of mine is a huge Metal Gear fan, so he's going to be real happy. The following trailer after that was Tower of Agazba. And then we got a very big CGI filled Final Fantasy 16 trailer. And, it's Final Fantasy. From the very beginning, you just take a look at that game and you go, I mean, the trailer comes on, doesn't even show you it's Final Fantasy. And right away, even if you've never seen it before, never seen any of the characters that are going to be coming out on it, the first thing in your brain was, yeah, this is going to be Final Fantasy, or it's a Final Fantasy clone. The trailer that came after that was showing off gameplay as well as CGI sequences, and it was for Alan Wake 2. And just watching it, I can tell this game is going to be horrifying. And I mean that in the best way possible. This game looks very scary. I don't like horror games. I don't like survivor horror games. I can appreciate them because of what they do. But I'm the type of gamer that once I start playing a game, I get really into the game, and once I'm immersed, everything spooks me. If a big sound or something like that crashes through, I can't complete those games. These are not games that are for me, but I can sit there, I can watch somebody else play it, and I can love it that way. But yeah, Alan Wake 2 looked really, really good. Hopefully it continues the trend. The first one was really good as well. Ubisoft then showed off Assassin's Creed Mirage. After that, this looks to go back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. It reminded me of the original, and I don't think that's a bad thing. A lot of people out there might not like the idea that they're going back to that type of gameplay, but I, for one, enjoyed the originals. So if that's the route that they're going, I welcome it. Following Assassin's Creed was Revenant Hill, and then Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, another very Japanese-looking, it looked like an RPG, I guess. Then Capcom showed off a CGI trailer for Street Fighter 6. Not much else with that. Then came what I wrote down was Acid Trip Castlevania. Game's called Ultros, and that's what it looked like. Just tons of color and trippy graphics. Looked like a hack and slash type Castlevania experience. I don't know if it's one of those Castlevania games where you have to re-explore, but that's the vibe that I got from that trailer. I hadn't seen that before. I hadn't seen Ultros and never heard of it previous to this, but that's what I wrote down. Acid Trip Castlevania. If you guys know more about Ultros, I'm interested. That looked really fun. Following Ultros came Tower of Fantasy. Then Dragon Dogma 2 was showcased a little bit. Five Nights of Freddy Help Wanted. And then the underwhelming part for me, I don't know what you guys feel about it, but was the PlayStation VR version, a portion of this presentation. PlayStation VR 2 recently showed off a graph, or someone was talking about the sales for the PlayStation VR 2, and it's reached around 600,000 in sales, which isn't terrible. It's close to or on par or a little bit above what the original PSVR sold, but it's not exactly flying off the shelves. And again, it's it's $600, so the thing's expensive. So you would expect that during this showcase, they're gonna really show off something new and exciting, something that makes people want to go grab PlayStation VR 2s off the shelf. Well, the first thing that they show off is Resident Evil 4 for the VR headset, which has been on other headsets previous to this. And, it might be better for the PlayStation 5 headset and setup and, the controllers and all that. But, we've been playing Resident Evil 4 now since Nintendo GameCube. And we've played it on everything. And so far, the best version of that game. And, I don't think a lot of people will disagree with me. I might catch some heat for this, but the best version of Resident Evil 4 was on the Wii with the pointer controls. It just played better. It seemed like that game was just made for that console. And of course, VR headset will give you a better immersive experience perhaps, and better graphics, but it's Resident Evil 4. The game showed off after that was Arizona Sunshine 2, which just reminded me as House of the Dead. It's an on-rails shooter for the headset. Nothing mind-blowing there. Crossfire 2, another shooter. Again, just underwhelming. And Synapse was shown after that. And then the one game that might, get people talking is Bungie's next game is going to be a Marathon reboot. So I don't know if it's a reboot or a remake, but looks like they're bringing Marathon back. And, Marathon's the precursor to the Halo franchise that Bungie worked on. And it's interesting to see them going back to their roots. So let's see what Bungie does. Of course, they showed off Destiny 2 as well, but, I'm not a Destiny 2 player. I never, fell in love with the first one, and, Bungie kind of hasn't been Bungie since they left Microsoft, and that's my opinion. And the same could be said about Halo. Once Bungie left, Halo kind of just took a dive after that. It hasn't been the same. So Marathon from Bungie, then followed up with Concord, which was another CGI-filled trailer. And then another big release that should have been a wow factor, or at least a surprise at the very least, and we talked about this here on the channel as well, was the streaming handheld from Sony, and internally it's called Project Q. And they all, we talked about that in previous videos. We had it as rumored as being called Q Lite. It has an 8-inch screen, and the mock-up that I put on the picture of the video almost looks identical to what the actual project is. It's hilarious. So if you look at the thumbnail in that video for Project Q Lite that I posted, it looks almost exactly the same. It's hilarious to me. And then they announced these cool-looking PlayStation earbuds. Everybody's coming out with earbuds nowadays, and this is probably, to go in line with, because it is going to be a handheld, and it looks like it works with Remote Play. It will not take any physical media, and they're going to try to force you to buy this thing to play your PlayStation games on the go. It's an 8-inch screen, has the same button layout as your PlayStation controller that you're all already familiar with. But honestly, I don't know what they are thinking with this. This is a huge blunder, in my opinion, and just a waste of resources for Sony. Because there is nothing that this thing can do right now that I can't do by taking my Galaxy Fold with me, playing a Remote Play on there, and just taking a controller. A controller is much smaller than this thing is going to be, and I'm already carrying my phone, and I could do Remote Play on my phone with a bigger screen. So okay, well, maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe you guys are dying for this system that can only play while you're connected to the internet remotely, and you want to lug this thing around. I don't know. Let's see what the price point is. Anything above $200, and we'll see that thing sit on shelves for a long time, right next to those PlayStation VR 2s. And then finally, which I expected right away was going to be the last game that they showed off, was Spider-Man 2. This is going to be a huge hit for them. It's the best game that they had on the showcase. We knew it was coming. They showed off extended gameplay, and you see Peter Parker with the symbiote suit. He's got his black suit on. He's fighting all the villains. He's more aggressive. It looks really, really cool. Spider-Man was a huge hit for Sony on the PlayStation 4. The Miles Morales expansion was a huge hit for them. And now this looks to go right in line with that. It was also confirmed that this Spider-Man game is going to only be a single-player experience. There is not going to be a multiplayer or a co-op component to this game. So don't expect that going into this. But yeah, I mean, Spider-Man 2 is the game to have. Interesting to note, they did not put down a solid release date on this game yet. So it's just still labeled fall of 2023, which to me tells me, which is good, because they might be ironing out some kinks and some things that the game actually might need to progress and just be a better experience overall. But it also tells me that this is probably going to be their big holiday game. So expect this in the latter half of that that fall season, closer to Thanksgiving, maybe right before Black Friday. They want to pump out some PlayStation 5s, and what better way to do it than probably their most anticipated game of the year with Spider-Man 2. Yeah, that was the PlayStation showcase in a nutshell, guys. It was about an hour long, and I covered most of the games here in 20 minutes. At least we mentioned them. Let me know what you guys thought. Are you guys excited for any of these games? Is it just Spider-Man 2? Will you be picking up a PlayStation Project Q, whatever they call that later on, and or those Sony's earbuds? Are you interested in those? What game in the showcase excited you? Let me know in the comments. Obviously, I would really love to know what you guys think. We streamed this episode live on Twitch, so you can join me there, twitch.tv/starflagmedia. You could always join in and leave your comments live while we stream. And if not, just please hit that like button here and subscribe to the channel. It is brand new, and we are growing. And it'd be nice to hit 100 subscribers. I know that sounds very low, but it would be a big deal for me. Also, we have a link in the bios now for Buy Me a Coffee. If you decide you want to support the channel in any other way, you can click on the link. Just buy me a cup of coffee. Keeps me going. Helps me produce more content for you guys. As always, I appreciate you guys being here. Feel free, like I said, to follow me. I'm also on Twitter, twitter.com @StarflagMedia. And as always, thank you for gaming.